Whiskey freaks, welcome back to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your number one attitudinal bourbon destination. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different again, guys, and honestly, I kind of like it that way. This is not going to be a review, and it's also not going to be a blind tasting, and it's not just going to be me yelling at a glass of bourbon down here in the bunker. This is an actual real-life conversation, and it's one I've been wanting to have for a good while now. I'm sitting down with Nick Colombo. He's one of the founders and also the operation manager at Switchgrass Spirits right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, if that name sounds familiar, well, it absolutely should. I've talked about Switchgrass here on the show before. I've tasted their whiskey at the St. Louis Bourbon Festival. I've talked about that. And I've spent my own money on their bottles, including the one I'm sipping on today while we talk. Guys, there's no freebies here, no sponsorships, no funny business, no bullshit. Just whiskey and honesty, and that's just the way I like it. And if you care about where your whiskey comes from, who makes it, and why some bottles just feel different than others, you're going to want to hear this interview today. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Nick Colombo. Nick's the operation manager at Switchgrass Spirits in St. Louis, where he helps oversee day-to-day distillery operations, the production flow, and the unglamorous but critical work that keeps whiskey moving from grain to glass. And before stepping into the distilling world, Nick spent years working as, believe it or not, a mechanic. And later he led a major charitable organization. Now at Switchgrass, he plays a key role in what they call a worker-owned, environmentally conscious distillery. Under his watch, Switchgrass has earned national recognition, including gold medals for both bourbon and rye in 2024, and they've proven that serious whiskey doesn't have to come from big corporate pipelines to compete at a very high level. So hey, Nick, man, thanks for joining me today. Now, I've talked about Switchgrass here on the podcast before, and I've tasted your stuff at the St. Louis Bourbon Festival, and that's kind of why we're here today. In fact, I even picked up some this weekend. I picked up some of that Switchgrass bottled in bond bourbon. I've been sipping on that for the past couple of days here. And
Nice.
I got to say, I'm really loving that, really digging that. And that's, I'll be honest with you, that's kind of what drew me into Switchgrass to begin with. So and just for the record, this is something I always say on the podcast. I paid for this whiskey myself. That's we all have certain things that we do certain ways.
Yeah.
That's something that I do my way.
No, I respect that.
Right.
And I
Nobody's
appreciate it
giving me
too.
anything free. I'd be glad to take samples, but I'm going to pay for them, right? That's how I do it. I feel like that's the best way to give a legitimate review. Other guys feel differently. That's okay. I respect what they do too. But like we've talked before, we just do things differently here. So just had to get that out of the way too. So with that being
Thanks for
said,
having me on. Yeah, it's great. I always enjoy talking about it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I am totally excited today to dig into the brains behind the operation, what really goes down at Switchgrass Spirits. So I want to set the stage real quick, Nick. Give me the origin story. Like, how did Switchgrass get started? Where are y'all set up right now? And what's the basic kind of rundown of who you are and what you do there?
Okay. Switchgrass started in DC, funny enough, when I didn't like my job and I wanted to start a manufacturing job. I was doing international development nonprofit work.
Okay.
So I knew manufacturing is a place in an economy and the huge effect it has on just like bringing up the incomes and improving the lives of everybody around the manufacturing. And I wanted to get into manufacturing where I'm from, in St. Louis.
Okay.
So I was looking into starting a brewery for a long time, but then there was too many breweries, so I wanted to start a distillery. And then my wife convinced me. She was like, "Nick, let's move to St. Louis. Let's do the thing." So we moved back home, started, coming up with a plan, getting investors. We have a lot of small investors, and we're employee owned. So it's kind of a different business model, but it really makes things harder and it makes things easier. But that was something I really wanted to do. And we started getting investors probably 7 or 8 years ago. Bought a building, brought on Pat. So Pat and I kind of built out the place, bought all the equipment. We're in North St. Louis, so we don't pay a mortgage, which is amazing for your
Hmm.
cash flow. Um, and we have a 16,000-foot building, but Pat and I have spent about a year and a half rebuilding it ourselves. So,
Hmm. Okay.
so got a bunch of investors, got a big building, and just proceeded to make as many barrels as we could with the money we had left over. And then the pandemic hit,
Mm.
and it hit like 2 months after we started selling our first products, our
Oh,
first two. So we kind of like shifted entirely to just making as much whiskey as we could,
hmm
only working with grocery stores and liquor stores. And then, yeah, since then, we've just always tried to make more barrels than we opened and sell, and try to sell more than the year before. And we try to just keep scaling up. And we've been very successful so far. So,
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, I can go into more detail, but that's the quick version of
Yeah.
how they're going.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And before we get too deep into the weeds about whiskey, and I understand that's kind of why we're here today, but
Yeah.
before we dive straight into the whiskey side of things, I always like to get to know the person behind the title. I'm always curious about people beyond just their job roles, right? I think that's very limiting, and I think it's in the world as a whole, really, I don't think we can always be defined by our job. So uh, I like to ask interesting questions too. And for
Sure.
me, something that's interesting to me is what's something you're really interested in now or that you're learning about these days that has absolutely nothing to do with whiskey?
Um, Actually, my current hobby is like camping, like with my kids. So I got a 6-year-old. I mean, no, I got an 8-year-old and a 3-year-old,
Okay.
and we got a family that live outside of DC. So I'm kind of like getting a setup where we can drive for 6 hours,
Uh-huh.
camp, and drive another 6 hours, and it's in the hopes that we can visit grandma and granddad a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're also old enough to where they can like be around a fire and help set up the tents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting getting into that, and they're loving it, and it's I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. And um, so now I know a little bit more about you. I want to talk about more about the business, right? Um,
Sure.
uh, Switchgrass started with the goal of building what you guys call, and it's even on the bottle here. I'm looking at the bottle here, a worker-owned and environmentally conscious distillery. And in the liquor world, I'm going to be honest, that's not exactly the usual playbook. Uh,
No.
what made y'all take that particular route? And I can only imagine how hard was it to actually make that particular model work? You said you've been successful and it's working out great. How did you do it?
Um. So my background is in nonprofits, and actually, it's also in union stuff.
Hmm.
Um. I I did I represented my union in negotiations, and that
Okay.
really changed the way I thought about labor,
Hmm.
obviously. And I'm not in the union now, but like it did make me feel that the the relationship between profits and pay need to be a little bit more equitable.
Okay.
Um, and I wanted to start a factory and be an owner, right? So yeah, just like how you reconcile those things. And
Right.
I had friends that were lawyers and good at financial and corporate structuring. And I was talking with her name's Sarah, and she's our corporate and financial structuring lawyer. And she was like, "Why don't I just write it up?" So we just kind of like brainstormed for a while, and I said what I cared about, and yeah, we just came up with a operating agreement that seemed like the workers could own the factory, and
Gotcha.
we just wanted, like I just wanted to do our job and get paid for the work we do, and we wanted to compensate investors, but Yeah, like because they take a risk, but yeah, we wanted the decision making and
Well, right. I mean, doesn't that, I mean, it doesn't, it works better that way. Everybody's got skin in the game, right?
exactly. Like if the truck shows up at 4 o'clock, you know, and work ends at 4:30, everybody stays till 6 to
Right.
make sure it's unloaded right. You know, like because that's
Right.
their money. That's it's not because of like altruism. It's because like we can't lose 3,000 gallons of apple cider to contamination. We got to just stay until it's in a sealed fermenter. You know, like, and
Right.
that's kind of like there's no the ownership structure and the pay structure decides all that, you know, like it's not me, it's not, there's no boss. It's just like, no, we're all trying to make the most valuable company we can.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at. So
Well,
yeah, it's just a very different way to work with other people, you know, and some people are into it and some people aren't, you know, like,
yeah.
so, I mean, yeah, the people who, but everybody who works here full time owns equity. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's
I love how you explain that. That's great. And that kind of leads me into my next question, which is about the distillery itself, right? You guys are in, and you kind of said, you mentioned this a little bit at the beginning. You're in a renovated, it's an American Legion Hall, right?
correct.
And and it's in, I believe that it's in Wellston, is that correct?
Yeah, our fence is on the city line.
Okay, okay,
So we're in Wilson, but
okay.
it's the north side to most people from St.
Sure.
Louis.
Well, I used to work at Goodfellow there at 4300 Goodfellow. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with that area. And you're in the heart of St. Louis, so to speak. But I mean,
Right.
let's be real. That it's kind of, I would call it a forgotten part of St. Louis.
No,
Um,
very poor. I mean, I'll be honest, it's very poor. It's we don't host a lot of weddings out here, you know,
sure,
but
right, right.
we do.
I mean, what does the
53 foot
neighborhood
drums.
mean to Switchgrass and your identity?
So
I mean, the
it's
fact that you're
people.
in that locale, it's got to mean something.
Oh,
It's
it's
pretty. You
huge.
guys are intentional. You guys are
Yeah,
intentional.
yeah. We're playing a very long game. And what I tell everybody is that Northside has a lot of tiny little communities. And some of them aren't so good. And some of them are just like any small town. Like if you know your neighbors and you all look out for each other, it is the safest place on earth.
Nice.
So like we know all our neighbors. The first thing we did when we bought the building after cleaning it out was have a barbecue and invite all of the people who live on our dead end one way street in Wellston over. And we had, you know, smoked turkey legs, and we all had just like had a good time and introduced ourselves and told
Yeah.
everybody what we were gonna do. And it's awesome. Like Yolanda calls me if I leave a light on, and I messing with her air conditioner, I chase him off, you know, and like that's just like it's a
You've
small
got
town.
your own little neighborhood watch going.
Yeah, and like you can't. Yeah, there we've knock on wood, but we've never had a problem. And yeah, we love it up here.
Yeah.
One because of you know like it's cheap, and two because we have a huge building like with loading dock and God yeah solar
Hmm.
panels and like all the rest of it, and it doesn't cost us anything. So yeah, no, it's great. Highly recommend to other places that aren't open to the public because once again, most of our bottles go out on pallets. So
Sure. Sure.
that's you know, if you were trying to open up a beautiful wedding venue, that you know, I would advise against it. But if you
Well, I mean, you guys are open on Saturdays, right, by
we do
appointment.
private
So
tours on the
yeah,
website,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can sign up on the website and take a tour with you know me or Joe, usually Joe. But yeah, that. But I mean, it's great. Like people want to come out here, they come out here, and they get to see everything. Like
Yeah.
the tours are very fun. You get to see all the equipment, taste all the whiskey, hear how we make it, hear why it tastes the way it does, and then taste it.
Yeah, I can't
So
wait. I'm not that far from you guys. I can't wait to get down there and poke around and chat with y'all.
yeah, no, you're very welcome.
So my understanding is that Pat Grosh, I guess he's the co-owner and co-founder with you. Um, nor he or you. You guys didn't come through the textbook distillery
No,
pipeline, so to speak, right? I don't think you guys have chemistry degrees or
no,
you don't have like a corporate whiskey pedigree, right? You guys are what dudes that rehab buildings and played in punk bands and
yeah,
I mean, but somehow you guys are making award-winning whiskey.
true.
I
Well,
mean,
okay. So my background is in is really weird, right? International nonprofit union stuff, but I also worked in breweries, like
okay,
on Saturdays when I lived in DC, and I
okay.
would clean tanks. I would check I would, slide yeast strains, and I would, like filter. I was the grunt at a couple different breweries in DC, so I knew how
Hmm.
to handle. I knew how to convert starch into sugar. I knew how to keep tanks clean and sanitary. Like, and I also knew that I didn't want to compete with Kentucky. Kentucky's whiskey is awesome.
Hmm.
I, who doesn't compete with Kentucky? Japanese whiskey, Scotch whiskey. It's a big world, and it's not. There's not one that I think is better than the other. I think that you can try a bunch of different things, and you can like different things. Just like craft beer. Like if you're not into hoppy beers, you might be into Belgian beers that have a big yeast profile, or you might be into dark beers that have a big malt profile. And like, I think that it's a big world, and
Hmm.
Kentucky's great at putting like a relatively neutral spirit in char four, and that works. Like it's great, but that's not what we do. We from the start knew that we were going to be sweet mashing. We were going to be using yeast. We were going to be using closed fermenters, and our whiskey was just going to taste different. It was going to be
Hmm.
real acidic when we put it into the still. And I have done a bunch of test batches, and I knew that it's just way less harsh when you use yeast and take a week to ferment instead of a day and a half and bacteria. So, not to get too nerdy too quick, but like we knew from the start we were going to be making whiskey different, and the goal would be, and we knew it tasted good, but we knew we would also be going up against the biggest marketing teams in the country, you know, that all say there is a best whiskey and it's our whiskey, like, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, and this bottled in bond that I'm sitting here holding in my hand, which by the way, you can get at Save On Liquors here in Edwardsville. Um, it has a unique flavor profile. It's different. I don't know if it's your mash bill that's in it, but I can tell you that the tasting notes that I get are much different than if I'm looking at something from Old Forester or if I'm looking at something from pretty much anybody else out there. And it's a
right.
great flavor profile, but it's different. And I noticed that myself. So it's interesting that you're kind of bringing that to light, so to speak, here on this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of anticipated when we started this like 8 years ago, whiskey wasn't a big deal. Like craft beer was a big deal.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, yeah.
we wanted to lead our shot a little bit. We wanted to like be at the right place at the right time when customers got educated. We figured they weren't going to get less educated, and we figured they would start to care how it's made and who made it
Right.
and what it tastes like. Like a lot of people don't care about any of that. They just go off what the experts say is the best, and that's what they want. And it's like we kind of anticipated that happening less and people having more and more of their own opinion
Yeah,
about whether
yeah.
they like wheat or rye in their bourbon, or whether they like high proof or smooth whiskey, or whether they like it.
There's that word.
Yeah, like I don't know, like I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. I'm just saying like people, like there's a lot of options out there, and you can like a smoky scotch, or you could like a one that tastes like band-aids. And I'm not going to say that anybody's wrong, but like I don't like
I
the
will.
band one. And I do like the smoky one, like so we what we set out to do was like create our own style and stick to it. And that means sweet mashing, and it means a lot of wheat. So what you're tasting, so you're tasting a blend of 6 barrels. And when we pick barrels, we pick for flavor. So we
Uh-huh.
treat those barrels like ingredients. And those ingredients we pick flavor wise are fresh apples and cherries, honey,
Okay.
and like cornbread.
Okay.
Like bread's obviously corn. The honey comes from the wheat we use. Very 25% wheat in the mash bill.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I noticed that.
And then the apples and cherries, that comes from the yeast we use at 75 degrees specifically. Like if we get it hotter than that, it tastes like bananas. And I'm
Okay.
not like
Okay.
once again, bananas are great. Like I'm
Hmm.
not against
Yeah,
bananas.
I'm getting the cherry. I'm getting kind of a butterscotch in here too, and maybe even a little
Yeah,
bit like a
yeah, that's
cedar
a char.
note. I don't know, but
Yeah, we it's a blend of char threes and fours, mostly char three.
okay.
So that's another big differentiation. We wanted a light, clean, like smooth. The wheat really softens things out and
Hmm.
it's really light and smooth. But we wanted it like bright and fruity too. So that's kind of like what we set out to do. And the only thing we really didn't expect was how oily it would be. And I mean, it makes sense. Like there's just not that much corn in there. There's 63% corn, and corn's
Hmm.
mostly starch. The barley and the wheat we use both have very high oil contents, and we don't filter that out. So it's going to have a good viscosity. It's going
Yeah,
to
it's got great
stand
legs.
up well in a cocktail. So yeah, so that's basically what we were setting out to do, and we set out to do bottle to pot. You have to do that from the start. You know, you can't just like do that later. So
Well, I appreciate that you guys didn't just. I mean, I don't know what you've put out before. Again, I'm late to the game as it relates to Switchgrass, but if this is where you started, it's going to be nowhere but up, really.
yeah,
I mean,
that's our take too. I mean, like we made some hard choices. We've never bought whiskey. You know, we've
um,
never like, and we make our whiskey very differently. It's, closed fermenters and long cold ferments and, steam jacketed pot still. Like we do all our cuts to taste. Like it is not at all how most distilleries make most whiskeys. But yeah, we just decided we wanted a whiskey that tasted more like ingredients and the choices the distillers make than um uh, age and oak,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and
Well,
it's
and it's
not
worked for you. I mean, you guys have won. I think you guys have. I've looked this up. I may be wrong, but I think you guys have won gold medals on both your bourbon and your rye last year. And I mean, to me, if you've listened to the podcast, awards and award ceremonies are great, right?
right.
And that's good for the exposure for you guys and like the street cred. But what what do you think those wins did to change what you guys are doing inside the building? Did it shift your confidence, the direction you're going, or what? How do you think that winning these awards has it changed anything there at Switchgrass?
It's solidified. Like you go off, you start something new. You're fairly confident you like it,
Yeah.
but I don't tell other people what to like. Like I don't like. I know why I like it. I like it because it's oily. But I mean, I could totally understand you don't like oily whiskey. Like that's fine. But it was just like
Hmm.
more of a validation that we're on the right track, that we're
Yeah.
doing the right thing. But I mean, our straights won gold medals too, like 2 years ago,
Okay.
2 or 3 years
Okay.
ago. So we knew we were doing fine. It was the head brewer. So the head brewer of Bourbon Chestnut came out before we were selling anything. We just invited him. I knew him, and I was like, "Hey, come out and try our stuff." And he was like, "Why aren't you selling this?" And I was like, "Dude, this is 6 months old. We can't sell this. Why was to sell 2 year?" Like, so yeah, we ended up just taking off a bunch of money and selling it sooner after like 18 months, I think.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
doing Red Label, and that's actually a huge seller, but it's not for whiskey people; it's for bartenders. This
Oh,
turns out
okay.
that they really want to use nice whiskey, but they don't want to pay $50 a bottle. So that's what our blue and red label. Honestly, that's what we're known for. And we're
Okay.
not really known in the bourbon community. Like you said, just because we're so new on the scene, our age statements aren't there yet. Um, but I mean, they are now, sort of. Our oldest barrels are about 6 years old.
Okay.
And
Okay.
like I said, we don't buy whiskey, so that is what it is. Like, and I'm not gonna lie about my age statements. So that's the other option that, yeah, but I'm not
Well,
doing it.
and I think that goes along with what you were talking about, the shift in how people want to receive information about what they're drinking. What they want to know about how it was made, who made it. They want to know what's in it. They want to. I'm that kind of person. I'm an old guy, but I still have that kind of younger Gen Z mentality. I don't know if it's what generation that is, right? But they're approaching things differently, and I love that you guys are transparent about things. That's huge for me. That's something that I sometimes can rant about. And with you guys, I mean, I'm looking at again, I'm going to go back to this bottle again. I have never seen a bottle that was this complete as far as the information that you're looking for. You know exactly where it was made, who made it, when it was. I mean, every little detail is here. And for me, I'm kind of a whiskey freak. That's kind of my thing here,
Yeah.
right on the podcast. I love this. So I just wanted to, I had to let you know, whatever you're doing here, I love it.
I mean, we all agreed early on, like authenticity and transparency was going to be our,
Hmm.
like, no apologies. Like we're very confident it tastes good, but but you might not like rye. So what we do is we do what craft beer does. If you put Citra on the IPA, and if you don't like Citra IPAs, try the Amarillo IPA. Like just tell your customers so they can make their own choice.
Right,
It's
right.
like our whole philosophy. I'm not going to tell you what the best whiskey is. That's frankly like dumb. Like
Sure, sure.
I don't believe there's the best whiskey. Like I have whiskey I prefer on certain days because it's cold out,
Yeah, yeah,
hot out, like, or because
yeah.
I feel like trying something new, or I want that old favorite again. Like I heard this was a lot like my old favorite. I give it a try. Like I don't know, like there's a lot of there's just a ton and ton of marketing. And like I mean, we do marketing, but it's just like me telling you what the mash bill is and the fermentation temperature. Like transparency is our marketing. And that
Yeah.
really resonates with some people. And
Mhm.
those people love our product. And it doesn't resonate with others. And that's fine because we don't have enough whiskey to sell. So
That's so interesting. I would have never thought about it that way. It's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. It's
So,
just like transparency is our thing. And also just being different and honest about it.
like I said, I like to ask interesting questions. And
Sure.
there's this idea. It's a phrase or an idiom. I don't know what you want to call it. And I don't remember who exactly said it. It was said a long time ago. And what that saying, how that saying went was that we learn wisdom from our failures much more than from our successes. And I totally agree with that. I think, in fact, I believe when we make mistakes, that really hits harder than when we make the correct decisions. So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I can only get, well, and I can kind of guess how things have got to go sideways all the time there at your distillery.
Yeah.
Um, but what I want to know is what was one of those early moments for you in the industry where everything kind of went off track or went off the rails, but it really ended up shaping how you work today?
Okay, so I can think of two. One really early and one relatively recently. But they're both how we pick barrels. So
Okay.
putting on my product design hat, talking about red label rye. Um, like I said, that's an 18-month rye. That's really big, bold flavors, excellent in Manhattans, Boulevardiers, big whiskey cocktails. And that's who buys it, is people who are making whiskey cocktails. And in the beginning, that's a blend, right? We wanted a consistent flavor profile. We wanted a profile with depth, more than just like a few bright notes. We wanted it to be consistent and have depth and complexity. So the way you do that is you blend 6 to 9 barrels together. In the beginning, we would just take the next 6 in the row because they were all the same age
Mm,
and they're really easy to get to. And we would just dump them in, proof them down, send them on their way.
mhm.
And they don't all, that's not how to do it. What that's not that you have to taste like 12 barrels and then pick 6 of them. 20
Gotcha.
barrels and then pick 6 of them to get the right consistency. But also, they don't all taste good. Some of those barrels taste a lot like wood tannins, for
Mm,
example.
mm,
And wood tannins is this bitter, like you left the tea in for
mhm.
too long, and it's really harsh and bitter and tastes like you're chewing on a piece of oak, and it's not good. And not all the barrels taste like that. And you know what solves that wood tannins problem?
Mm.
Just waiting 3 more years to sell it. That flavor ages out, and it doesn't taste like that later. And why would I sell a barrel that didn't taste good as another one if
Yeah,
I could just wait and sell it later for more
yeah,
money? Like I can't sell them all. Well, I could sell them all as blue and red label, but like we don't want to. We want to up our age statements. But yeah, we decided like And it wasn't just me, it was me and Pat and sometimes Sarah and whoever else was around,
Hmm.
like all tasting the barrels individually, writing our notes, ranking them, and then picking which ones we could definitely benefit from more age. Some of them are too good to put in a blend. And we put those on a different track to sell as single barrel releases. And like that really changed our company a lot. And like you said, I come from beer. I didn't know about like maturation and blending, but we do now. And our
Hmm.
product went tastes so much better now than it did like the first year and a half, I want to say.
Hmm.
But it's because of it's because of maturation and blending. It's such an important job. I mean, mash bills and sanitary fermenters is important too, but like, man, it's such a shame to do all that work and then not pick good barrels. So that was the first one. The second one, um, was when when we started out, we were just trying to make the best whiskey we could. We wanted a big, bold flavor. We went for the rye, and we wanted smooth, like delicate, fruity for the bourbon. We knew what we wanted, and we were just trying to do the best we could. But we realized our customer somewhere in the past, like in the past year and a half, 2 years, we kind of shifted how we pick the barrels for the bottled and bond and the blue and the red label. So we have like kind of two lineups now.
Okay.
And the blue and the red label, we don't we stopped picking the barrels we thought were the best. And we started picking the barrels we thought were best for cocktails.
Hmm.
Because it's not the same. You want big, bold flavors. You want it to stand up to absinthe and vermouth and still taste like whiskey when you're making a Sazerac. But with the bottled and bond, we wanted that to be the best bourbon for sipping. So we kind of like split our lineup
Okay.
by the customer and how they use it. And I do the farmers market a lot, and I just ask people, I'm like, do you mix this or do you just sip it neat? And like, there is almost no overlap. Everybody's either one or the other. I mean, I do both because it's my job, but like, I mostly sip neat, and that's the
Yeah,
way I
me
drink
too.
it, and that's the
Yeah.
way I pack, and that's the way it's just very different. And then like, what makes a good? We started asking ourselves, what makes a good cocktail whiskey? What makes a good mixing whiskey? And what makes a good sipping whiskey? And the
Hmm.
sipping whiskey is usually older, usually more well-rounded. Usually, it's like all the corners are knocked off. And then the younger one, all the corners are still on there. And because you want that big boldness, and you're willing to sacrifice a little harshness because it's going to have sugar in it. It's going to have fruit juice in it. It's going to have whatever, and you want the whiskey to shine through with all that other stuff. So that's kind of like a more recent change we made. And yeah, I don't know. That's just the two things I thought of.
Oh, yeah, appreciate that. Hey, whiskey freaks! Quick announcement here. I wrote a book. Yeah, me, a real book with real stories. It's called Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS. Barrel strength legends, lies, and untold tales, and it's packed with dozens of wild, weird whiskey tales from the strangest corners of bourbon history. And every chapter ends with one question: was it whiskey wisdom or was it BS? You want to learn about whiskey history and have fun while you're doing it? Well, then you need to grab this book. It's just $10 on Amazon Kindle. It's cheap, it's fun, and all the cool kids are doing it. So don't be left out because you want to be cool too, right? Did I mention it's just $10? Yeah, and you can read it on any device with the free Amazon Kindle app. Just hit the link in the show notes, grab a pour, grab the book, and enjoy the whiskey history. That's Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS. Barrel strength legends, lies, and untold tales. Well, before I let you go, because we're running out of time here, and I know you have have some stuff to take care of there at the distillery. Is there anything else you want to throw out there here for the whiskey freaks that are listening to this episode? Anything you got coming soon that we can be looking for? Anything you just want to share with us before we say goodbye?
Not much. Just check our Instagram socials. We do a lot of limited releases, like single barrel stuff. And like we sell most of it at the distillery and at the farmers market, direct to public, but we do go out. We do sell some to our distributors in Kansas and Missouri and now in Illinois too. But they're kind of fun. Like we'll work with we're working with Noblace, a vineyard. They gave us some port. Well, we traded them some port wine
Hmm.
barrels. We're coming out with a port wine finished one. We're working
Oh,
with a
okay.
vineyard
Okay.
up in the Southwest. We're finishing up some stuff there. You remember those barrels? I was like, this is too good to put in the blend.
Yes.
We cross promote other organizations and sell single barrel releases.
Oh,
So I just want to plug that. That's like it's the most fun thing we do, and it's hard to find unless you're on our social media. So Parker Stable, like our single malt this year, is that Parker Stable bought like half of what we sold to our distributor. So that's wine and cheese place is always a really good
hmm.
first, like rare and special stuff. Because like these single barrels, I think the single malt had 130 bottles. Like these are very rare,
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and I just want people to know more about it. So
Well, cool, man. Hey, I appreciate you more than you can know hanging out with me today. I am gonna pour some more of this amazing Switchgrass bottled
I
in
am.
bond. Uh, but seriously, Nick, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I am always open to discuss what y'all got going on. I love
Awesome.
what you're doing. Like I said, I'm late to the game, to be honest with you, obviously, but I love St. Louis and I obviously love whiskey. And
Well, I appreciate the exposure. Like I said, we're like not really on bourbon guys' radar right now because we're mostly in. I mean, we sold 26,000 bottles last year, but that was mostly through cocktails.
oh,
So
wow.
I'm
Okay.
trying to do more and more exposure with the bourbon community. So yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for spreading the word.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. It helps me. I'm boosting my exposure and boosting your exposure all at the same time. So it's really for me, it's a win-win. And like I said, it's St. Louis. It's near and dear to my heart. And again, thanks so much for joining me today. Maybe we
Awesome.
can get together in the future.
Yeah. Reach out whenever.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks a
Have a
lot.
good day, Nick. Bye-bye. All right, Whiskey Freaks, that's going to do it for today. Big thanks again to Nick Colombo for taking the time to sit down and actually talk shop. Not just about whiskey, but about people, places, mistakes, and what it really looks like to build something from the ground up in the whiskey industry. You all know how much I value and support transparency, right? And I respect the hell out of folks who are willing to talk about the hard parts and not just the wins. If you're in the St. Louis area and you haven't checked out Switchgrass Spirits yet, I'd strongly recommend it. I'd encourage you to do so. Go see their space, try their whiskey, and decide for yourself. As always, don't just take my word for it, guys. You taste it, you think about it, and you form your own opinions. Oh, and you can also find their stuff on switchgrassspirits.com. And for all y'all in St. Louis, the STL, or Southern Illinois, you can pick up their spirits all over the major metropolitan area, including the Save On liquor store here in Edwardsville. And just to be crystal clear again, nobody paid for this conversation, nobody paid for this episode, and nobody told me what to say. Remember, and I probably beat this into the ground, but I buy my own whiskey, and that's why I can ask the questions that I'm curious about, and then I bring you those conversations that I think actually add value. That's always going to be the deal here. If you enjoyed this episode, and why wouldn't you, go ahead and subscribe wherever you listen. That means mash those buttons on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Amazon, all of it. Do it now before you get distracted by some other crazy shit here on the internets. Guys, like I've said so many times before, there are about 4 million podcasts out there, and I'm pretty sure at least 3.9 million of them are about either Taylor Swift or Sydney Sweeney. So the fact that you chose this one today, I genuinely appreciate that. Big thanks to all y'all whiskey freaks, and thanks one last time to Nick at Switchgrass Spirits for sharing part of his crazy day there at the distillery. And last but not least, I definitely got to give a shout out today to the farmers, the distillery production guys and gals, the warehouse workers busting their asses, the bottlers, and the truck drivers, because they're the ones that make it happen. So cheers to all of them. Thanks for listening again today, guys, to the Blind Tasting Podcast, your #1 attitudinal whiskey destination.